Thanks for joining us today for the State of the Island Address. I know it's a little different than we've done in the past, but one of our goals is to grow transparency and also community engagement. So we approached the Chamber and Roxanne to see if they would make this part of their regular quarterly programming. And a big thank you to the Chamber and the Chamber Board for allowing us this opportunity to present today. I too would like to recognize my bride of 40 years. We've been on many journeys together, and this one is, for a long time, in many circles, I was known as Mr. Anna Stahl. So, but she's there in support, and I've got her support and appreciate it. Again, I want to note my team members on the council. We have 3 of my 5 teammates that are on here: Teresa Meddy, Ken Metters, and also our Mayor Pro Tem, Paul Muneris. And we also have 2 former council holders here, Courtney Hayden and Joanne Evans, I understand, is here too. Oh, there she is, okay. And then 2 former mayors. Judge Ed Saginowitz is here, as is, I heard, and I haven't seen her, Peggy Trey. Oh, there she is. Hi, Peggy. So thank y'all so much. And Linda and Albert, thanks for sponsoring this. As many of you know, the city of South Padre Island is a council manager form of government. This means that the mayor and the council really serve as a board of directors. We oversee policy decisions and approve the budget. The city manager is hired to oversee the day-to-day operations of our city. In fact, we have our city manager, Susan Guthrie, here, city manager of a short 15 months, but got a lot done in that 15 months. And we have many members of the city leadership staff in attendance today. Can you all stand and be recognized? Thank you very much. My goal is to spend the next 25 minutes to bring you up to speed on key accomplishments in fiscal year 2016-17 and what is coming up in 2018. So let's get started. If you run a business, you know that your bottom line is only as good as the team you have working for you. So this review will start with a look at what we're doing to grow the capacity of our city organization and achieve the goals that we've set for them. In 16-17, we started with the hiring of the new city manager. It took us many months to get that done, but ultimately we hired someone who we thought was a great match to the council, and we felt that could take the organization to the next level. The staff launched several new projects that you folks in business will recognize, including establishing performance metrics and doing a lot of SWOT analysis. We also launched a 6 Sigma best practice known as, in the manufacturing world, as DMAICS. And that's just an acronym for define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. All in one hand. There will not be a test on that a little bit later. But in a nutshell, it's a methodology for looking closely at a process, defining it, determining how we can not only improve it, but then control it. So once the staff has become more comfortable with the DMAIC process, they used it to our benefit. Several projects were launched in anticipation of the budget process. A thorough assessment of our current fleet was conducted, and the process was developed to rate each vehicle we have so that we know its life expectancy. It helped us to put together a process of updating the fleet and ensuring that it remains in good condition. That same approach was used for preventive maintenance. Every city facility was evaluated to determine needed repairs, both now and in the future. Then a reserve study was done to make sure we had the funds set aside every year to make those needed repairs and improvements. Those of you who are associated with really good condominium practices probably recognize and are familiar with that type of process. This is just one example how we're taking the best of the private sector and using it to improve service in our local government. You can see several other processes highlighted using the DMA program. Everything from beach parking to computer replacement. In fact, this year alone, we reclaimed 100 parking spaces to get us closer to the state mandated requirements for beach parking using that process. 2017 saw a strong focus for improving the quality of life on South Padre Island via infrastructure development. It was years in the making, but Gulf Boulevard was finally completed. It is such a pleasure to see all the people who join me in walking up and down in that controlled area on that walking path. And I, for one, am loving the palm trees, the planting, the landscaping. It really looks nice. Along with Gulf, we saw several side streets on both the Gulf side and the Bay side improved with curb, gutter, sidewalks, and improved parking. Tompkins Park opened and improvements have been ongoing. Most recently, a new playground equipment was installed and there's irrigation improvements along with benches and tables. I'll come back to Tompkins Park when we talk about 2018. And you don't want to miss the improved butterfly garden that was recently designated an official Monarch Way Station. We even added a little bit of public art. The Causeway Boardwalk was repaired, it was reopened, and it's being put to great use by all of our fishing enthusiasts. And all of these projects are in what we call we've improved them and now we're controlling them. So we have budgeted money so that they never get to disrepair again. 3 new walkovers were added at beach accesses to ensure ADA compliance and allow the dunes to grow in the breaks below and to protect the island from storms and high tide events. On the tourism side, you all know that we passed the visitor 2% venue tax. Well, passing it was just the beginning. Much work went into the process of beginning the collections and selecting projects. And there was certainly an instinct to run right out and spend the money on new projects. I got many automatic quick recommendations. But we all need to remember that we can only spend this money one time. So making sure we do everything right and spent wisely is critical. And very importantly, we will seek voter approval should we feel the need to adjust what we call the investment spend. We also entered into an agreement with Cameron County. And at this point, I'm going to pause for just a second because I failed to recognize our Cameron County Parks Director, who's been integral in this, Joe Vega, right there, Joe. You know, when people come across that bridge, they come across to South Padre Island. And it can be the county, it can be the city, it can be whatever. But you know what? It's all South Padre Island in the visitor's eyes. So we have to work very closely with the county. You know, they have part of it, we have part of it, and instead of pointing fingers at each other, we just have to work cooperatively. And we have to evaluate the area behind the convention center to develop kayak and paddleboard launches along the bay. We also hired a consultant to assess property that could be used for a windsurfing venue. We're also working on projects to create a kayak launch, a docking station for silent water sports behind that convention center, and to acquire land for the construction of a parking lot for the ecotourism area, and to build a boardwalk and kayak paddleboard launch in that same convention center area. This facet of the project connects the parking lot to the venue site and the convention center via sidewalks, those new sidewalks, and bay on the kayak trail. We obtained Attorney General approval and issued bonds to fund sidewalks from the convention center to north of the shores, and to add additional raised medians from Kingfish, which is just north of Blue Marlin, all the way to the convention center. Despite the challenges as depicted on the graph by Hurricane Harvey, we ended the year up for hotel occupancy tax collections. However, you can see in August and in September the hurricane's negative effect. Unfortunately, it was just a glancing blow, but we learned a lot from that, a whole lot from that. So our hot tax fund also ended the year above expectations with $2.8 million in excess reserves. That is in addition to the 6-month reserve that we have. So that's additional excess reserves. We've had a slow start to this fiscal year, and the weather today isn't helping, but things appear to be picking up, and let's all pray for good weather. Ed, Peggy, y'all were involved somewhere along here. This is a pretty amazing slide, though. Financially, South Padre Island's doing well. As you can see from the chart, our sales tax revenues grew more than 5% this year, a situation that many cities in this country would be very, very happy to see. In the general fund, we ended up the year with a $1.2 million in excess reserves. Very importantly, this is in addition to the 6-month reserve we are required by our city charter to maintain. Again, this was in spite of the hit we took from Hurricane Harvey. South Padre Island has a AA+ bond rating and one of the lowest property tax rates in the state of Texas. Our local property tax rate is lower than 84% of Texas cities. In fact, some cities have rates more than 2.5 times higher than South Padre's. All this while attaining exceptional awarded audit results every year. I'm happy to say that several new businesses opened in 2017, including Johnny Rockets, Jack's Burgers, Kingfisher, Dollar General, Tropical Smoothie, Tokyo Teppanyaki, House of Frames, Red Mango, HMG Mortgage, Life Local Art Gallery, Tiamore, Gaia's Flowers, and Cafe Karma. That's a pretty good group. Building permits have been strong, and the team has worked hard to refine our processes to be more business friendly. In fact, they developed a developers roundtable to get input from the development community. I attended the November meeting and was very favorably impressed, and just accepted an invitation to the February meeting as well. So the EDC has also been hard at work on developing a new strategic plan that's focusing on entrepreneurship, business development, and destination development. And let's not forget all the high rankings we've scored over the last few years. That's a pretty long list. I especially like being named by National Geographic as one of the top 12 kiteboarding locations in the world. Okay, now we've looked at last year. Let's look at what we've got coming up this year. For organizational development, we're working on rolling out a new employee training program called SPI Connect. We will be developing public performance dashboards and continuing our DMAIC projects. As I mentioned, we want to grow community involvement and visibility. These publicly available dashboards will greatly improve that transparency with you, our key stakeholders. Here's a list of the DMAIC projects we have underway, and I promise you more are coming. It's definitely going to keep the staff hopping. I'm really excited about the pavement condition project because, as we have seen, replacing roads is a costly endeavor, and we've got to control that and budget for that. Now that we've completed a few streets, we need to ensure we're taking care of them for the future. In my 40 years of business, I was exposed to a lot of projects and methodologies. But I'm very encouraged that we have settled on the DMAIC process. I had never been exposed to it before, but I've been exposed from everything, every project, EIEIO to whatever. I mean, in every process. But I love this process. As we gain more experience with the process, our employees, our citizens will also gain more confidence and understanding of how we approach issues. That Six Sigma term, again, DMAIC, is new to many of you, so I'm going to repeat the words in that acronym. Define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. On the infrastructure side, we should come close to finishing the sidewalk project that extends from Isla Blanca Park to the convention center. And won't it be great to have a continuous walking trail throughout our entire city? In addition, 7 side streets will receive curb, gutter, and sidewalks at a cost of $2.1 million in 2018. The skate park at Tompkins Park, I told you I'd come back to this, is under design and is expected to be constructed this year. Oh, by the way, there's Ann Payne. I believe Ann Payne has the brochures explaining the unique opportunities for your business. I'd like to see a lot of local businesses sponsor different parts of that skate park. I know this has been delayed, but construction of the $4 million multimodal facility right in front of the Pearl will commence shortly. This grant-funded project is a LEED certified building and will house our transit department, shoreline, the Chamber of Commerce, and Visitor Center, maybe. I'll get to that in a second. There will also be a demonstration garden, a new, safer SPI monument sign for photo ops, and trailhead signs for using the new sidewalk system. That monument sign is out there on the highway right now. We've done some good work to protect people, but we think this will be a much safer location for it. We also have a DMAIC project started on how to repurpose our existing visitors center. We will also be rolling out new wayfinding signage to really bring together the appearance of the island as one resort and to help our visitors find all that SPI has to offer. We've reached out to a highly recommended consultant to ensure that we do it right, including a new digital smartphone component. On the tourism side, We've been in the process of working with a research organization to gather data to assist us in making the best marketing choices possible. With a $2.1 million advertising budget to market South Padre Island to the world, we want to make sure we are getting the best return on investment. With this data and the work of our DMAIC committee and the CVA, we will make needed changes to our strategies. We also anticipate enhancing and boosting infrastructure as well as improving airlift. In fact, Keith Arnold and I were in Dallas to meet with representatives from Southwest Airlines in mid-December. Keep your fingers crossed that we will see some results from those efforts. Our goal is to sustain our visitor numbers in our peak season, summer and spring break. But we all know our biggest efforts need to be growing our off-season tourism. We have several ideas we're working on, including fishing, nature tourism, and special events. Another strategy is to finally put to rest the idea of South Padre Island benefiting from the cruise industry. Efforts in the past have focused on the development of a home port with all the parking, homeland security, customs, and other infrastructure necessary. Conversely, we're now looking at South Padre Island as a port of call, which is a stop on a cruise journey that originates elsewhere. Other communities, such as Key West, have been very successful as a port of call. The ships come in 8 o'clock in the morning and they're gone at sunset. The potential for a significant economic impact is there, and most importantly, cruising's peak season is November to May. Exactly when we need the visitors and to balance our business. We're in early stages, and it's a tentative project. Susan and I have met with the county judge and Sophia Benavides, our Precinct 1 commissioner, but it's so tentative we haven't even taken it over there because we envision some of this quite possibly at Isla Blanca Park. Again, it's a tentative project, and I honestly cannot stand before you and say if it's going to work or not. But I refuse to stand by and just talk about the challenges we have on this island. I'm in this position to get things done. The number one issue I hear from island restaurants, small businesses, visitor attractions is the long, lean, sometimes people say starving off season. And if we can fill that up May back to November, I think we'll go a long ways toward that. You can't get anything done without at least trying. So we've hired a cruise industry experienced team to help us make a run at this. We have several points where we can decide, and we've broken it into what will probably be 4 stages, where we can either decide to continue or say, no, we're not going to do it. But that's the way the process will work. I'm hopeful, but let's let the process play out. I've done this many times in my business career, got all excited about a certain market, and it just doesn't work out. It either works or it does not work. Finally, we're going to update the city's comprehensive plan. The plan remains a guiding document to set the vision and goals for our community. It's been a while since it's been updated, but the plan is only as good as the input received from you. So please participate in that process that should be starting within the next month. If you will attend tonight's city council meeting along with my teammates, I know some information on this will be available at that time. Thanks for coming today. It's a quick glimpse of what we have in store for the coming year and a little bit of a look back. I appreciate your patience and hope it was informative to you. I'll be happy to take questions afterwards, and if you would like to speak to me, and I've also asked Susan to stay after as well. In closing, I want to thank you for allowing me the honor to serve as your mayor. I take the job very seriously and will dedicate myself to doing what is right for South Padre Island, everyone's island. I look forward to seeing many of you tonight at the City Council meeting. Eventually, our vision is to be recognized as a world-class resort and residential experience. Thank you very much.